Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we're going to be discussing each championship club and their average home attendance so far. Now, we've already discussed the percentage filled of each championship stadium. If you've not seen that video, make sure to go ahead and check it out. But for the sake of today, we're going to be stacking each championship club's average home attendance up against each other. If you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. 300 likes would be massively appreciated. But without any further ado, let's jump in. Coming in at the bottom of the pile, we do have the Rotherham United fans coming in with an average home attendance so far this season of just over 10,700 fans. Now, the advantage that Rotherham have is it is the smallest stadium in the Championship, but they're also packing that out most weeks. It holds around 12,000, and the vast majority of that they are managing to fill. Into 23rd place, and it's quite the jump up, we've got QPR, who so far this season have had an average home attendance of just over 15,600 fans. Now, these figures are including away fans coming into the ground on a weekly basis and things like that. But once again, Loftus Road, not the biggest ground in the Championship, but QPR are filling the vast majority of that. But it's only good enough to get them 23rd on this ranking. 22nd place, we got the Blackburn Rovers fans in at Ewood Park. So far this season, they've averaged a home attendance of just over 15,600, ever so slightly having more fans in there than QPR have had so far. Now, if you watch the percentage of how full or empty each Championship stadium is, you'll know that Blackburn do have the emptiest stadium in the Championship, with Ewood Park holding over 31,000 fans. I think the reality is that Ewood Park is just a bit too big for where that fan base is right now, but still really solid numbers for the Championship. In 21st place, we got the Millwall fans in at the Den. So far this season, they've averaged a home gate of just over 15,800, so slightly more than the likes of Blackburn and QPR have been averaging, but all quite tight around this region in terms of the home attendance figures. In 20th place, we've got Plymouth Argyle. This season, they've had an average home gate of just over 16,200 fans. The point about Plymouth is they are pretty much packing out Home Park week in, week out, and so maybe a stadium expansion could be on the cards in the future as they're really packing into that stadium on a weekly basis. I'm sure that'll be a club that could make use of the extra seats. Averaging slightly more than Plymouth in 19th place, we've then got the Swansea City fans, who have averaged a home gate of just over 16,500 fans so far this season. Myself personally, I'm still yet to make a trip to Swansea, one of the few Championship grounds that I am yet to visit, so that's got to be on the agenda for the future for me personally. In 18th place, we then got my side, Preston North End, who have averaged a home gate of just over 16,800 fans so far this season. Now, a fair bit of that figure will definitely be made up by the away fans who usually travel to Deepdale in large numbers, but generally speaking, I think that Preston have done a really good job over these last couple of seasons especially to get more home fans into the stadium. You know, Deepdale is a big ground for where we are at as a fan base, you know, holding just shy of 24,000 fans. We're not quite packing it out on a weekly basis, but we've definitely grown in terms of the home fans coming since we slashed the prices of season tickets, and I think that has been more effective in generating a bit more of an atmosphere at Deepdale and definitely getting more fans into the ground. It's quite the jump up though when we head to 18th place. We then get to the Watford fans. So far this season, they've had an average gate of over 18,500 fans. On the pitch, Watford haven't had the smoothest of starts to the new season, but solid numbers showing up to support that side week in, week out. 16th place, we then got Huddersfield, another fan base who's definitely had some ups and downs over these last few years, but solid numbers coming in at the John Smith Stadium on a weekly basis. So far this season, their average gate has been over 19,200 fans. Always quite like making the trip to Huddersfield personally. Now in 15th place, we do have Birmingham. So far this season, they've averaged a gate of just under 20,000 fans, but it is worth pointing out that while St Andrews has been having these refurbishments and redevelopments going on around the ground, they've had to cap the overall stadium capacity to around about this figure. So Birmingham have pretty much been topping out the maximum of the seats they can sell at the moment, and they're sort of still waiting on the rest of the ground to be opened up where they will be able to get some more home fans into that stadium. Into 14th place, we then got Hull City, who have averaged a gate of over 21,000 fans so far this season. Really impressive stuff, especially how that fan base has sort of become back invested into that side. They've certainly grown since the new takeover went through. If we compare Hull's average attendance so far this season to even back in the 21/22 season when they were only averaging around about 12,000 fans on a weekly basis. Massive step up from then, albeit this is a much smaller sample size compared to a full season. In 13th place, we then got the Stoke fans in at the Bet365 Stadium. They've not had the easiest ride over these last few years in the Championship, been continually underperforming, and that's certainly been the case for them so far this season. Despite that, still packing out and averaging some really good numbers in the Bet365 Stadium so far this season, over 21,500 on a weekly basis, which is really impressive for Championship football. In the midway point, we then have Cardiff City, obviously one of the bigger grounds in the Championship, the Cardiff City Stadium, which holds over 33,000 fans. Definitely have quite a few empty seats to contend with because of how big the ground actually is, but in terms of the numbers that are actually going into that ground on a weekly basis, it has been the 12th biggest so far this season with just over 21,800. You know what, the Bristol City home attendance figures have actually been really quite consistent for quite a few seasons now, always fluctuating between that sort of 18,000 to 22,000 mark, but they've smashed that so far this season with an average gate of just over 23,000 fans. Ashton Gate is one of my preferred Championship grounds. I do quite like it. The city of Bristol in general I think is quite lovely, but Bristol City getting some good numbers in there. The top 10 is where the list starts to get really interesting though. Coming in that 10th spot, we've got the West Brom fans so far this season in the Hawthorns. They've averaged a gate of over 23,100 fans so far this season. Definitely the Hawthorns, another stadium I regularly enjoy visiting. Not much of a trip to me to make from Preston to the Midlands, and their home support has been fairly consistent since they've been back in the Championship. In 9th place, we got the Coventry fans, a fan base that's definitely grown exponentially over these last few years and how they've continued to climb the EFL from the problems that they've had in years gone by, and that team they're currently putting out on the pitch. What's definitely helped is the community schemes they've had going on, the ticket deals as well, and generally the success on the pitch and actually being back at a stadium that they can now call home. So far this season, averaging a gate of over 24,200 fans, really impressive stuff. Coming in 8th place, we then have the Sheffield Wednesday fans. Hillsborough is the second largest ground in the Championship, but Wednesday only making it in 8th on today's list with an average home attendance of over 25,700 fans. Now, a couple factors worth pointing out. One, Sheffield Wednesday have been absolutely rubbish so far this season, so credit to the Wednesday fans that have been going there supporting your side on a weekly basis. And two, the ticket prices can be absolutely extortionate, some of the most expensive in the Championship if you were to purchase a season ticket or even on a one-off just going on a regular match day. Definitely something that needs to be changed there, because with the right ticketing scheme, Sheffield Wednesday could get, you know, an extra 8,000 fans in there on a weekly basis with ease. Coming in 7th place, we then got the Norwich fans who are packing out Carrow Road on a weekly basis, and credit to them. Like Sheffield Wednesday fans, also paying an extortionate price for season tickets, but fair play to them for filling out Carrow Road on most match weeks. Norwich, I suppose, have that advantage whereby, like a few other clubs in that region, they don't really have any other massive football clubs to contend with, so a lot of the locals will naturally be swept up and support their local side, whereas a lot of the sides in London and the north in particular do have a lot of top 6 sides to compete with in terms of trying to get those fans into the stadium. Norwich don't quite have that problem, and fair play to them for packing out the ground most weeks. Coming in 6th place, we then got the Middlesbrough fans who are selling out 26,300 seats or just above on a weekly basis. Borough, really good home support, and I'd also throw in one of the best sides on the road as well in terms of the travelling numbers and the noise they usually make on the road, always quite consistent with that. Also paying an absolute fortune for season tickets, but getting plenty of bums on seats each week. In 5th place, we've got the Ipswich fans in at Portman Road. Now we're getting to the part of the video where most of these fan bases are packing out their stadiums on a weekly basis, and this is sort of a determination of whose ground is actually bigger, but Ipswich right now are just riding the crest of a wave. Some massive numbers supporting them in League One last season, and that hype train has just continued into the Championship this time around. So yeah, credit to them. Portman Road holding just shy of 30,000 fans, and so far this season the average gate there has been 28,500. Just shy of that 30k mark on a weekly basis. It's then the Southampton fans there in 4th place on today's video. Always think it's quite exciting for a side like Southampton. I know a relegation from the Premier League will always sting, but for the match-going Southampton fans, they'll just get to experience so many new away days this season. I think that is the sort of excitement that can come along with a relegation. I'm sure Saints fans have enjoyed plenty of new away trips so far this season, but home numbers have been really good so far, as you'd expect. Same thing could also be said for the Leicester City fans this season, averaging a home gate of over 31,300 fans. And I mean, Leicester fans must just be loving life right now. To experience the Championship once again and be absolutely steamrolling the league as they are now, Leicester fans can't have too much to complain about. Seems more than likely that they'll be back in the Premier League next season, and for this season in the Championship they can sort of enjoy the ride as they have been doing so far. Huge numbers as we get into the top 2, and claiming that second spot, it is the Leeds United fans in at Ellen Road with an average home gate this season of over 35,300 fans. Absolutely massive numbers for Championship football, and also, as good as they are at home, absolutely excellent on the road as well. When they come to Deepdale, they regularly pack out the away end, which holds around about 5,000 fans. Like to make plenty of noise as well. I know there are always the memes about Leeds and Leeds would have taken more and things like that, but they are just a very passionate and solid fan base, aren't they? And those sorts of numbers in the Championship you can't knock. But by far and away coming out on top, of course, it's the Sunderland fans in at the Stadium of Light with an average home attendance of 42,300, which is absolutely massive for second tier football. There's no doubt that Sunderland are a Premier League club playing in the Championship in terms of the size, stature of the club, the fan base. You know, the Stadium of Light is the biggest stadium in the Championship. It holds just shy of, 50,000 fans, but to get that many people in the ground each week is a real testament to Sunderland, because it would be very easy to be playing in the second tier with a ground that big and it to be half empty, but that's just not the case with Sunderland. And I found it to be quite a fun away trip to make as well, and the couple times I've done Sunderland away. Well guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. There is every Championship club and their average home attendance so far. Just for full clarity, I have got all the attendance figures used in today's video from Transfermarkt. So if there are any errors with some of the numbers that I have used in today's video, there is where I've got the figures from. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.